Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Debate Up. I am your host, Chesh, and I am so excited to be here. This has been a long time coming from my understanding of how long some of this nonsense has been going on. I've been so excited to do this stream. It is 1 a.m. where I am, and I have had too much caffeine. I am so excited. I'm here with Rustam today, and he is going to give us all of the details about his experience with AAI. You may notice it looks a little bit different in here, and that's because we had to do a little bit of tweaking in the background to make sure everything worked and came out nice and clear for you guys. So if you guys can do me a favor, make sure all of our audio is good, and you guys can just let me know if you hear anything hiccupy or weird. I apologize that your stuff is not currently on the screen, but we'll get it next time. If you do have any questions, we will be taking questions, but please make sure that you tag me in them just to make sure that I actually see them. So, Rustam, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Sorry to keep you up at like 1 a.m. This is like a very comfortable 11 a.m. for me.
I'm
So
usually up
excited
at
to
this
talk.
time. I'm usually up at this
Yeah.
time. Don't even worry about it. It's been a while since I did a stream this late though, but
Yeah.
I'm normally up to like 4 a.m. because I hate my life apparently. So,
Super healthy.
thanks. So, why don't you tell the good people who are you?
All right. I think I'm a nobody, but like I've been given too much importance here, but I'll take it in stride. I'm a journalist and a journalism-based individual based in India. I have around a decade of experience working in the industry. I worked with all sorts of writing gigs from local newspapers, national newspapers, state newspapers, some international freelancing with a bunch of organizations familiar with pretty much anybody. And I am also an atheist, so that's why I got associated with AI. And yeah,
That's a decade worth of experience, and that's a decade as
yes,
of now. I was going to ask what your credentials are, but I'm pretty sure you just told me.
yeah.
So you're a
I have a
journalist based in India, and you have, if I
yes,
understand, you have a master's in journalism.
I have a master's in journalism, a bachelor's in English, and bunch of other side kind of diplomas, but also in the writing field. Yeah.
No, that actually makes complete sense to me, considering what you used to do for AAI. Now, how did you end up working for them?
So funny story. I think I was browsing on the internet, just how one search leads to another,
Doom
and I
scrolling.
was just like, yep, completely. I was like, I think my keywords were atheism, something like this, and this was back in I think 2013 or something. 2013, yeah, approximately. And just I saw the website of AI, and truth be told, it was very basic, just HTML based design. So I was like, it's probably not even updated, even though there were articles, but it looked like it was very low budget, just bare minimum, bare bones kind of website. And I just literally reached out. I was like, I have been an atheist since a significant part of my adult life, and I was just praising, hey, good work. It was great. There are others like me, and that's it. And then I think somebody replied back that, hey, that's awesome to hear from you. Would you like to write an article? And I believe I did write a article on some just general views on how an average life. Bear in mind, I was like what 19 or 20 or 2021 or something at that time. So I just wrote a small little article to them. What's life like an average 20, 21 year old going to college in India?
Eating noodles.
Yeah, pretty much. Like we have a spicier version of ramen here, and that is the universal, separated by cultures but united by poverty in student life.
How much
Yes.
spice is in your ramen noodles?
Oh, completely. Like it makes us cry. So hell yeah, it's like,
You're gonna have to
but it's
give me
part of the
the
experience.
recipe. It'll probably kill me.
But it'll be completely worth it. It's like so delicious.
I'm sold. I am absolutely sold. So you were scrolling, you were doom scrolling, found
Yes.
AI, said, "Hey,
Yes.
I could get into this. There's other people like me in the world. I'm not alone
Yes.
out
Yeah.
there." Very
Yeah.
communal.
Yeah.
You ended up getting a writing an article for them. And
Yes. A very
is that how they kind of found you in response?
No, I mean that was it. That was it. They just wrote the article, and I was just like, oh, "That's pretty cool." I just thought it'll go on the website and be read by nobody, but I believe it was published in the Secular World magazine at that time,
Oh,
and
okay.
I'm not too sure, but I think so. I could check and verify. But
Mm.
then I believe I asked them, hey, that's pretty cool. And I'm very young and I'm just building my career. So could you just send me a copy? And then I can,
Yeah.
brag about it on my social media. Like, that's pretty nice.
Yeah, that goes
And I,
onto your resume and your portfolio. Like that's
yes,
fantastic.
exactly. I was like, I got an international publication. Ooh, and I think they did send me a copy and I was pretty generous of them. And that was it. And that was literally it. And then I think I communicated with them like a month or two later. And hey, is there anything I could do? Any help you guys need? Any way I could get involved? And then on my own, I found like on the website there was a post open for the editor position. And by this time, I think I was almost done with my college, and I was done with my bachelor. I was about to enter my master's, something like that. Yeah, I was just
Okay.
entering my master's,
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
and and
So you had
it was
at
a
this
whole lot.
point, sorry, just to clarify,
Mhm.
you were working on your masters and just finishing up your masters at that point. It was that
No,
your
the finish of my bachelor's, just starting with my master's.
okay, and
It
that
was
was
continuous.
okay.
Yeah.
So that was your journalism. Had you gone into your English yet, or like does that double at the same time, or did you get that later?
No, it's like first you do a 3 years of bachelor's in
Hmm.
English in literature, and once that
Okay.
finishes, then it's 2 years of master's.
Okay. Okay.
But
I
it's
see what you mean.
continuous.
Right.
Like the bachelor's finishes in June and the master's begins in July, so there's hardly any time to. It's
Right.
basically a continuous flow on this.
Right. Yeah. It works similar here, but it's a little bit different. You can have a bachelor's and then, oh, never mind. It doesn't matter. Never mind. Ignore me. Okay. So sorry. Please continue. You had just been finishing that up, and they had gotten in contact with you after you had
Yeah.
offered to see if they needed any help or volunteer.
Yes, and so bear in mind at this point, I also started working personally at the age of 18,
Hmm.
and I've been working for local newspapers and then the state newspapers and then the national newspaper. So I've had around 3 years of writing, editing experience, and so I wasn't like completely a college fresher or something. So I did have experience in the industry, and I applied. I sent in my resume. I talked to a bunch of people and we had a video call and we had an interview question. They shared their expectations, they shared their requirements, and I was like, I would absolutely, it would be an honor. I would absolutely love it.
Yeah.
And
Great
that's how I
opportunity.
applied. And then I waited an ungodly amount of time, like around 2.5 months of constant anxiety refreshing the page. And then when I finally got a reply, and then things went forward.
So
So I think, oh,
how many
yeah, sorry.
people were part of your interview process? Because you found the
Two.
two people were part of your interview
Two.
process.
Yeah,
Okay.
I believe I also talked to the president at the time, and I talked to another lead. I would not want to name him or her,
Oh, that's fine.
but yeah, two people. Yeah,
Yeah.
two people.
Do you happen to remember who was on the board at the time if you're willing to share who that was? But if you're not, that's also okay.
Um, yeah, I would probably skip it, but I remember. Yes.
Yeah,
No,
that's not
no,
a problem.
they're. Let's put it like that. They are no longer associated.
Oh, okay.
They don't do any. Yeah, they're no longer.
Okay, yeah, no, that's more than enough. We got a super chat
So
from
I
Godless
was
Scummer who says, listening to your resume, yeah, he would say that AAI got a bargain getting you to work with them.
about that. Yeah, I'll address this allegation straight on. So I've been following. I'm not so active on Twitter, but I have well wishers who keep sending me things. I
Hmm.
want to be really clear again. Just I want to say it as clearly as possible.
Yes, please.
I saw the advertisement on the website itself. It wasn't like an internal, I know somebody who snuck me the information in an email. This was a completely transparent, open process. The amount I was remunerated, I believe I still have the original contract. It was written on the website. I had no say in this. I didn't say that, hey, can we negotiate? Can I get this amount of money? Or you are being hired from India, so we will pay you less. There was no question like that. It was like whether I lived in Antarctica or whether I lived in Canada or whether I lived in UK, this is the job, this is the money. Because all the work is remote, and so there was no question of debating um, salary negotiations and whatnot. And at the time when I was hired, when I was shared the vision of this is the current state of the magazine, this is what we expect, My sense of direction personally was that AAI, the I in AAI stands for international. And you have, like, with no disrespect, you have a bunch of 99% people from white people from America with a certain age demographic.
Yeah.
You have like one or two organizations which are affiliated in Africa,
Hmm.
and that also is just like they were building a school, I think, some secular school,
Yeah.
and they were funding another NGO. That felt like really, literally, it just exists so that we can say that we have international work. And what I promised to bring on the board was like, hey, if whether you like it or not, India is the second largest world's population, and China is like kind of restricted. So vocally on the internet, we are like the largest population you get. You
Right.
cannot go a single day online without reading some fuckery happen because of religion around in this part of the world.
Some
This
fuckery.
is, yeah, it's just somebody's killing somebody. There's some riot. There's some always some shit is always happening around here.
Right.
So it is, if you're talking about world religion and politics and culture, whether you like it or not, India has a very loud voice in it.
Yeah,
So
it's a hotbed. There's always stuff going on in India, and India's a big place. This is
it's
not
a huge place.
small by any means. And there
Yes.
seems to be this misnomer that people have about India and what
Hmm.
India is actually like, because
Hmm.
they think for some reason people think it's a third world country, and
No, I
are
mean,
they really anymore? Maybe in some ways, maybe not in others, but there's lots of people in India, there's lots of money in India,
oh
there's
yeah,
tons of politics in India. It's when you think third world country, depending on where you go, you're not going to find what you're thinking of. Imania's yelling at me in the chat because of course she
right,
is.
exactly. And when I say that I was hired from India and I'll manage this part of the world, I don't mean specifically India. We generally say Southeast Asia. So we're including Pakistan, which is also a super religious Muslim country where even saying the word atheist could land you in jail. I'm also
Right.
handling Sri Lanka. I'm also handling Nepal. Basically, because we all speak at least mostly a common sort of language, not exactly, but like we still understand each other. We come from the same dysphoria. We come from shared cultural identity. So I was going to make this voice louder.
Yeah.
That was also part of my hiring process.
Well, it would
Again,
make the voice
no,
more proportionate to what the world looks like.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, and I believed when I personally joined, and I shared it with them also, so it's no secret that I believed. My personal vision for AI or the magazine itself was like instead of being a closed jerk circle, like, hey, are you an atheist? I'm an atheist. Look how great I am. God is so bad. God is so bad. If like me talking to you directly right now, you're an atheist, I'm an atheist, right? Right? You
Yeah.
are, right?
Yes. Yeah.
We could debate how bad God is all day, but at the
Sure.
end of the day, we have just wasted 24 hours of each other's time. Nothing is achieved.
Right.
We should make the concept that, hey, an atheist looks like this. I'm a pretty regular guy, no horns. I don't go around murdering people. I'm a pretty approachable topic. My vision was whatever the current hot, trendy, cultural, political, social, economic, whatever topic is going on, let's say abortion rights, war in Gaza, Ukraine war, whatever, coal depletion, should we switch to fossil fuels, whatever. We have a secular voice to that debate.
Right.
That
Right.
should be our vision. Instead of just being a joke circle, hey, I have this one atheist guy who's attended 200 conferences who goes into the same place and says atheism good, God bad. That achieves nothing. You're just preaching to a choir who already knows the lyrics. So I
Right.
wanted my vision of the magazine not to focus on these quote unquote famous people in the circle. And I wanted to be, famous organizations didn't need our attention. Small grassroots levels did. For them, even a small mention, even an article, even if it's read by like just 1,000 or 2,000 people,
Yeah.
they would paste it on the wall and they would talk about it for days. Hey, we got international recognition. They would feel more confident. They would feel I'm not the only lone voice who thinks that there is no God. And that is the vision I really wanted to promote.
And it helps lead people to other like-minded people, not for
Exactly.
not for a jerk circle, not for a circle jerk, but
Yeah.
for a community, and to commiserate with
Yes.
each other and to keep each other
Exactly.
safe in more dangerous countries.
Exactly.
Yeah, right.
Exactly that. Yes.
No, that makes it, that's a honestly, I think that's a wonderful vision, and I really do hope we see movement more in that direction in the future coming from organizations like AAI. So, what did your job actually entail? Because we've heard a few different things popping around about whether or
Mhm.
not you were a publisher, whether or not you were an editor, whether or not you were a writer, etc., etc., etc. So, could you clear up what your actual tasks, or walk me through like how you would make what you were doing?
Right. Everything I say is all I have the written document and I have the contract still somewhere in my inbox. So it's not coming up from make believe. This is all written and signed and everything. Again, this is not an opinion. This is what was discussed.
Right.
It was basically generating, managing, and publishing the entirety of the magazine.
And this was a
Finding,
physical copy of a magazine?
yes, yes, yes. I'll come to that also.
Yes.
By generating, I mean finding authors, deciding the amount of pages, writing, editing, reaching out, communicating back and forth, designing the whole thing, publishing it, and printing it. Everything, the entire contract is on me. The entirety is on me. It's not just writing and it's not just placing the articles here and there. You have to reject a few, you have to accept a few, you have to see what's currently happening in AI and the world. You reach out to these authors. Now, managing to convince authors to, hey, write an article for me and I'll pay you $0, and you also have to submit it within the next week is communication skills, and there is a lot of challenges at play when you are the single head, you are the single point in contact. That is very crucial. So it wasn't just writing, and of course I personally also wrote articles for them,
Right. Oh,
a
yes, of
few
course.
occasions.
Yes.
Yeah, and that was
So,
that.
and how many hours abouts do you think that would take?
So I would say that in an ideal world, this shouldn't have taken too long because this was a quarterly magazine published just 4 times a year.
Right.
But AI and life in general don't work too perfectly. There are a lot of constraints. Like if I don't get A information, I cannot produce B information.
Right.
So until I get the A information, I am stuck on the time. So I have a time period that we want to produce the magazine, let's say at a reasonable 2 weeks before the deadline, right? Because it takes a little time to shape, it takes a little time to edit, this and that.
Right.
Basically, we're managing a lot of information, and there would be a there would be a week or two with literally no work except writing emails back and forth, and
Right.
then the
Right.
last few weeks would be hell and beyond because we are like doing the whole thing from
Crunch
scratch.
time. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
oh yeah, oh yeah.
I covered something not too unsimilar to that with
Mhm.
the Doom game, the second Doom game, talking
Mhm.
about how the artist who did the music was having a really hard
Mhm.
time working with the team because the team would just not get back to him, not get back to him, not get back to
Yes,
him, and
yes,
then not
yes,
solidify anything. So
yes.
were you running into the same kind of thing, and was that consistent, or was there a sort of change
Oh, this
over in
was
that?
absolutely consistent.
Oh, okay.
But again, I wasn't complaining. I knew about this when I signed up for the job.
Right.
I was okay for the challenges. I think things for, if you look at the broad, because I worked like 4 years, so that's not a short time. And I think for the most part, things worked pretty smoothly.
That's good. Did
Like
you
I made sure it did happen.
So
So
the hours would basically fluctuate a lot early on because
yes,
it was a lot of back and forth, and the last
yes,
week or two
a
or
couple of
3 weeks
hours.
it would be really crunch.
Yes,
And you were going to
yes,
school still,
a
finishing
couple
your
of hours a week.
yeah.
Yes, yes.
That's
It
a
was, I would say, a couple of hours a week in a normal time, and during crunch time, it was a couple of days nonstop. So,
yeah, that's about what
was
I would expect for a crunch time like
yeah.
that. And how much were you paid for your work? Because there's been a bit of confusion about whether or not that amount was in pounds, whether or not it was in dollars.
So the agreed upon amount was $1,250, $1,250. This was what was in the advertisement. This was what I was initially paid, I believe, for 50% duration while I was working there. So, oops, sorry about that.
No problem.
50% of the duration, I was working there for about 2 years. After 2 years, because I have been working now 2 years, I asked the organization, hey, what is the deal? What is the probability that I could get a raise? And then we had a open conversation that we don't have that many funds, we don't have that much happening. And I was like, that's fair enough. And I still have all of what I'm saying, by the way. This is all in written email. So if anybody reading the chat or what thinks that it's my opinion versus that, I have complete paper trail of what I'm saying. And I distinctively talked to the president at the time that saying, completely get it. I love AI so much. I would have honestly done it for half the pay also. And but if you are comfortable sharing the finances, maybe I can come up with places where we can cut bulk costs. So it was me that realized that despite paying me 1250 a month, the cost of printing and shipping was exponentially higher
Right.
per edition. And when I looked at the maths, I was like, that is, oh my God, level of money for shipping. And I live here. And I proposed that, hey, why don't I go personally to the printers? I get them physically printed and I ship them. Then we calculated shipping it from here per parcel. Like if I'm sending a copy to you here, one in Ireland, one in Australia, one in New Zealand, those per copies will cost like $15-20 or something on shipping. That'll be a lot. However, if you send it from the US to other parts of the world, it'll be cheaper. And the majority of the subscribers were in US. So from US inland to inland. So it made sense. I would print the bulk copies and send the whole bulk. Like we're talking like 15-20 pounds of maybe even more of the magazines over there to some guy in the US who would send it further across the world. So now I located the cheapest printer in all of India, the largest bulk printer, and they are printing like literally about 500,000 sheets a day or some shit because these are
It's a
printers
lot.
which are larger than my house.
Oh
And
my
like,
god.
yeah, I mean, the heat alone over there felt like you were
Oh
in some
god.
magical, like abnormally huge. Even I didn't know they
I
exist.
would
So this was
probably,
to
as a
cut down.
Canadian, I would probably melt.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And this was all to cut down the bare fractions of pennies. I want to stress,
Yeah.
like I could have, and at this point, I could have easily gone to the nearest convenient place because it wasn't my money. It wasn't like I was spending it from my pocket.
Right.
But I considered AI like, hey, every dollar should be accounted for. I want to maintain this relationship with them for decades. If the organization is successful, I would get my due share of money whenever time possible.
Yep.
Right now, my priority is to cut down costs, and that's what I did. Before, I still have the physical copies, and I'm sure AI also does. Before, it was literally A4 size paper, that translucency, weak little paper of black and white printed,
Yeah.
and it literally looked like a high schooler's just pressed Control P on their computer and printed the whole thing.
Yeah.
I got a much thicker, shiny, glosser, semi-laminated kind of
You made it look
hardcover.
like a magazine.
Hardcover, that hard paper alone costs significantly more, and all in color. Despite, again, I want to stress, despite making it harder paper, thicker magazine, all color, and with prints and staples and like the whole shebang, like to make it look all, it reduced the cost so much that the difference added up to 250 a month, which is what caused my raise from 1250 to $1,500.
So
So I earned
basically,
that salary.
yeah,
I earned it.
you went
I didn't.
foot to ground. You went and did
Absolutely.
all of the work to make sure that they were going to get a
Yes.
way better quality product at the end of the
Way
day
better quality.
for
Yes.
less money, and they footed that
Yes.
money back to you, as would make
Yes.
sense. Brilliant.
Yes.
That's
And
good
I didn't even
business.
take all of the money back.
Yeah.
I didn't even, it was not like we just saved 250 bucks. I got 250. They still managed to save a little bit of more money.
Oh,
So it
absolutely,
was like,
because it's
yeah.
per amount, per print, etc., etc. There's like
Yes.
nuance
Yes.
between those smaller numbers.
Yes.
Yeah, no, that makes complete sense. So how much do you think the work you were doing was actually worth compared to how much you were doing it for? Given like
See,
the
so that
hours, given
is,
the experience, etc., etc.
see, um, that is such a subjective question because if you go on Google and search what is the average salary, it would also show you people in India who are working for less than $1 an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And now they would also show you people who are working at $40 an hour, right?
Right.
And if cost cutting alone is the factor, then I suggest like you can move to Bangladesh or something where they don't even have child labor laws, where you could work in like a whole day, you could work somebody half to death for $1.
Right.
But is that what AI stands for? Is that what an organization you want to support? Do you want sweatshop literature labor? Do you want to promote that culture, or do you want to pay what's fair? I believe I believe the salary that I was paid for, that was pretty okay. Wasn't like top of the line. It wasn't like it's gonna change my life, and it wasn't my primary source of income either.
Right.
So I needed a second job, of course, because this is a quarterly maxing. It's not too many hours. So I worked throughout a second job also to pay my bills and whatnot. In an ideal universe, I believe, at least in this part of the country and at least the organizations I work, it is standard cause to have around 7.5 to 10% increase every year in your salary to account for inflation. This is in every job,
Yeah.
whether like in India, whether you work at McDonald's or you work as a doctor, you get a 7.5 to 10% increase because of inflation and reasons. That didn't happen with AI. I mean, except for that one boost I just explained.
Right.
So I would say I was pretty happy with it. So I wasn't on top of the world, but I wasn't disappointed either. So it was pretty in the sweet ground.
Right. So like basically you weren't there to for the money and you were trying to
Yes, I
invest.
was there for the goodwill.
Yeah, and you
I was
wanted
there because I saw potential.
yeah.
I saw that this will eventually grow unless we all stop fighting with each other. This will eventually grow, and this will I saw huge potential, and it was in the initial phases where like earning $100 more would not change my life in any sort of way,
Right.
nor will it make them bankrupt.
Well,
But it was like right now we got bigger fish to fry.
you were investing your time, energy, work
Exactly,
back into this organization that you wanted to see succeed.
exactly that.
I can't imagine what
Yes.
that's like. Chat knows what I'm talking about. Well, we can have a conversation about that later if you want. But okay. So you had helped, and it's on your YouTube channel, that
Mhm.
you had helped writing UN speeches. Um,
Yes.
Correct. Okay, perfect. And you were doing that for a while. When the board flipped over, were you asked to
Mhm.
do any more writing or assisting when it came to things with the UN? And do you know if the newer board actually even did any UN presentations?
Okay. So that is a very cool story which I'll summarize. Like one day while I'm talking to one of these members or board members, I noticed that the website says that we are UN accredited. And I was like, what the fuck does that mean? What is the UN got to do with us? And then they explained me this whole process
Mm-hmm.
that UN basically accredits a bunch of NGOs who are working in a larger good, and you get like accreditation, and you have like, and I was like, okay, what do we get with that? They were like, you have the theoretical opportunity to speak at the UN and attend UN meetings and pass in your votes. And I was like, that is crazy. Why have we not done that? Because we've gotten the vote like years ago, and nobody had. Nobody had. I want to again stress, nobody had information. Like, sorry about that again. Ah, shit. Right here. Ah, okay. Um, Nobody had any information. Then I went back and forth and dug out information. And bear in mind, for anybody hearing this, just go on UN website. It is designed for to induce a migraine in your head because the font size alone is so small, and they talk like oh my god, they're like talking like William Shakespeare in like the 16th century. Like, thou hast logged into our website, and I'm like, oh my god, this to the point, man. And they're like, thou shalt protect thy human rights. If thee seek the latest conference, observe at the side of the widow. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? It's like you need a even as a native English speaker, you need a
Yep.
translator because they don't talk in regular English. They talk in like so formal English. It's like you need like a human being to translate that AI bot language. Anyway, so I did all the homework. I dug out all of these events, and again, anybody I challenge you, just go to the website even today. There'll be a whole list of events. You try reading. You try. You will to read a page. It'll take you a bunch of hours because it doesn't even make sense. Like they have just deliberately made it
So
to
like just
sound
as bad as
extremely.
any government website.
Oh my God, this is worse because this is like international government. So they brought
Oh
in the worst of all governments across the world, and all of these writers got together and went like, how can we make this process more difficult?
no. We
You
make this
know,
as
and
painful as possible.
as painful as possible. And like if you even just look the other way from the monitor, the website logs you out. You know, and I'm like, I don't know what you're protecting. There isn't that information on there. But anyway, so I dug out all the events that are appropriate for us. I filled out those crazy, depressing forms which they ask every detail about you, like from your
Of
hair
course.
color to eye color and your like whatnot, and
Yep.
all of these details. I filled out all the forms for these members. I filled out all these dates, and and you know how a normal website would be like, hey, you signed up for an even our Google Meet, even our video conference right now. I got an email like an hour ago. Hey, remember, buddy, you were supposed to come for a video call. Just a reminder. The UN website doesn't do any of that. They're like, I'm sure you have a parchment paper and a quill dipped in ink, and you would have written it, and a crow would come to the windowsill
It's
to
got a
remind
big
you. It's
feather
that
on it.
old. Yeah, absolutely. Or like the village priest would come with a drum and beat you. So they don't even have basic email services. It's that annoyingly that. So I have to keep track of all of that. These events are coming, then you communicate back and forth. So I basically restarted the UN program, and that's not my words. That is their words. That's
So
what
it
they
was
said.
like it
And
was a whole
the
thing. It wasn't something simple. It wasn't
whole
I
long
sent
story.
an email. It wasn't like it
No,
was a full
yeah.
organizing this whole
No,
project.
no, 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 no. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Sounds like a
So I
nightmare.
was managing their UN project. Oh, completely.
Bureaucracy.
It would have been so much. It would have been so much fun had it just not been that government bureaucracy. You know, like just if it were run by some private website, this would have been such a fun event to attend to. But this was designed for harassment. It's completely designed for. Anyway, so I filled out all of the forms. I wrote the speeches from scratch completely. At first, the president at the time flew in from Canada, I believe, to the UN headquarters meeting. She spoke the speech completely written by me in person. That was the first. Got to brag about it in the magazine, on the website, on our social media. It was a huge thing, you know.
Yeah.
Like here
And
we are,
this was the
we
board that
are,
had
and
this was the board that had hired you, right?
yes.
Okay.
I mean, the president was the same. Yes.
Okay, yeah, the individual
Uh,
members might have changed, but the it was the so
I wasn't. I
yeah.
was accountable only to the president, so that's why then
That
they
makes sense.
got in
That
touch with me. But
100% makes sense. Especially on this kind of a project, it would make sense to mostly just be in touch with the president. Sorry, I just wanted to clarify our timeline a little bit here,
yes,
so please continue.
yeah. Hmm. So I, the other speech, it also got selected to attend this meeting, and I flew from India all the way over there
Oh,
to
that's
represent AAI
awesome. Yeah.
for. Yeah, that is awesome. And for 2 weeks, I waited and waited and waited from I remember 9 a.m. to like 7 p.m. to have an opportunity to speak. Because right now, if you've never attended a UN meeting, which a majority people on the world haven't, it is not as streamlined. It is bureaucracy to the max, to the extreme. I do not get a window of opportunity in advance that hey, on 10 a.m. in this room you will get a chance to speak. So for 14 days you have to attend all of these meetings, waiting for an opportunity, and you have to be in some freezing cold weather and in formals and whatnot because it's the UN and it's not like the most comfortable piece of clothing. And they don't even have snacks, by the way. And let the record show they have no form of snacks in the building. You have to sneak out all the way and get it done.
This is
So
unacceptable. This is unacceptable conditions. We need to redo the UN. No snacks.
completely
This is
for the one
unacceptable. You're gonna make people sit through that long. You better be providing the snacks.
I know, right?
Hey,
And
what's better in sharing culture than sharing snack food?
right, I mean, I get it. I'm in America, so it would probably just mean Twinkie sandwiches or something, but that's fine by me. Like that works for me. So,
Everybody gets a free Twinkie.
Yeah, and at McDonald's like a Happy Meal or something. I'm like, your cultural food is pretty
I'm not gonna lie.
unique.
I've traveled to America. There when I
Yeah,
went to Chicago one time, and their
yeah,
McDonald's sucks compared to Canadian
yeah.
McDonald's. It's so bad.
Oh my God. Remember, beef is banned in India, and so this is one of the only places in the world where we have potato. What's the iconic McDonald's burger called?
The Big
What's
Mac.
the Big Mac. Yeah, the Big Mac is made out of potatoes here and chicken, and it sounds rather silly. But all my American friends who visited, they're like, "You've just changed potato completely."
I want to try it.
So,
I want to try a Big Mac made
oh
with that.
yeah, it is so good.
All right, I'm
It
going to
is so
India,
good.
guys. We'll see
Actually,
you
it is so
later.
good. So anyway, yeah. Anyway, like no, but back to the story. I want to stress that even for this visit, AI of course funded like I think 70% of a one-way flight, not a one-way flight, and a little stipend of like 60 or $70 a day or something. Even with that, like minuscule amount of funds that I received, I am so meticulous that I don't want to steal any dollar. That I till to this date have the receipts of the lunches of the dollar pizza slices that I have. And I
Wow.
send them all in a giant archive because I'm like, I don't want to steal a single dollar. Because
Right.
even 10 years down the line, like now, this story is like what, 7 years down the line, I still have the confidence to tell anybody on the planet that I didn't steal even a single rupee because all my paper transactions are out
That's
there.
really
They're all
smart.
submitted. I would still have. Yeah, I'm not just like I said, I wasn't in for the money. So in this event, I not only wasn't just like, oh la la, I'll fly to the part of the world and attend. We made networking contacts. It proved to be very useful in the secular working space.
Yeah,
We met
absolutely.
organizations who've been in the UN, who've been doing this work for decades, and oh my God, they are like so out there. Other NGOs and other countries respect them so much, and they listen to them and they hear their opinion and they babble. This was a huge project. I can't stress it enough. Had things been working smoothly with AI, I believe this direction could have taken us to another level because
Oh,
not
absolutely.
only financially but in representation also. Like imagine now there's a debate happening in the UN and you actually have a vote. You actually have a voice, and all the other literal representations to the heads of states are listening to you. That
Yeah,
is
and
that is gonna get more publicity,
especially if you've got
more
seven
voice, and
years, right? If you've been doing it for 7 years, you've now built up like some kind of like
yes,
notoriety with other
um,
members that you're able to
exactly.
build a
Yeah,
relationship with, like networking.
exactly, exactly. Yes, this was actual networking. It wasn't like joke circle networking.
Yeah,
So,
right, right. This
so that
isn't
was
this
that.
isn't shitting
I
around
did,
on
and
Twitter.
all of this whole project.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. And for this whole project, I got paid a grand total of zero. Not that I asked money,
Right.
but paying for my one-way ticket, and the return was still on me. Ticket isn't. I won't call that a salary or a stipend. So again, I was paid zero for all of this work. So
Right. Right. Um After that, did they do anything else with you? Was that what like, did you only do like a one and done and you didn't get to work on any others after
no,
that?
no. I worked with writing the president's speech. So I was handling the UN project. So we had
Right.
the UN not only has a headquarters in New York, they also have one in Europe. I'm forgetting which country, Denmark or something. I don't know.
Oh,
I
okay.
forgot. There's another quarter in. There's one in I think Africa also. There are like three headquarters, and so we attended speeches and passes and arranged for them also. At this point, it also made not only communicative sense. We also were cutting down costs, right?
Right.
And so if we have already a volunteer who is in Europe, it would make much more sense to send her to attend it rather than flying me from across the world. So
Right.
that's why. So the UN project wasn't just a one and done thing. It was like I worked with them for like about a year and a half, 2 years, something. Like I was handling all of their things. And
And
then, when before things went sour, I
right.
was handling it to the very bitter end.
And so
And
you
what
did
a
that
coincidence
for what, 2 years? Then you were working on this?
about that. Yeah, about that. Yeah, about that. Yeah.
Okay. That's fascinating. I almost want to just talk to you about the UN now because that's so much more like that's so cool. All right, maybe another day. Maybe I'll get you come back.
Yeah.
Um
Yeah.
So, some of the people who have been whistleblowing about AI have brought up something about missing Google credits that was worth tens of thousands of dollars, and this was about in 2018. Do you happen to know what that might be about,
Yes,
and can give us some details on that?
yes. I remember this chatter happening.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, some member had temporarily run off, and then it turns out with that amount of funds, and everybody was freaking out about it. And but it turns out later it was a misunderstanding or a miscalculation because I believe we got the funds back. That's
Oh,
I
okay,
think
good.
all should be my business talking
Yeah, that's
about
totally
that.
fine. Like as long as it ended up getting worked out at
Um,
the end, right? So
yeah,
something went south with the
I
calculation.
you have to understand. I was like more like a liaison project. I wasn't a part of the board. I
Right.
wasn't the president or anything. My entire focus was working independently on the magazine.
Yeah, so
So
you
everything else I heard was
basically
just chatter. It wasn't my business. It was like
right.
if the president's changing, if the board is fighting, this is happening. I'm like, oh, what is happening? It
It's
doesn't concern me.
between them.
Up to
Yeah,
myself, I did not.
that
Yes,
sounds like a
yes,
them
yes, yes. Yes.
problem.
Yeah, exactly
You're
that.
just
I'm like,
there to
my name is.
do your job, get this stuff out to people because it's valuable whether they're fighting or not.
Yeah,
No, that's
my name is Paul, and my name is Paul, and this is between y'all. You know.
yes, yes.
This is,
Um, okay, so we've kind of gone through how you got the job, how much you were getting paid, what you did, additional work that you did that was outside of the job that you were hired to do. So you were actually getting brought on to do.
oh, I did much, much more also.
Oh, yeah, no,
Not just
please.
the UN project.
Yes, go. What else?
Um,
Wait, there's more.
so there was also this conference in South India, and I live in North India, so there is like a significant amount of distance.
Yes, that is
Like
not
we're
small
talking
space.
like about 1,000 miles. About no, 1,000 would be too much. Like around 600 miles, or
I'm
I know in
Canadian. That
kilometers.
doesn't mean anything to
Oh,
me.
okay, good. Okay, good. So I'm also kilometers because I'm like translating in
We
my head.
use
Like
the
we're talking like
real measurement. We're not over here
yeah,
measuring things in washing machines and deer size, all right?
exactly. And so we're talking like around 12, 1,300 kilometers away. So it was really far. So there is this not annual, biannual conference called the World Atheist Conference. And I attended on the behalf of AI 3 years in a row. So that's 6 years, like because it's
Yes.
held every alternate year. 3 years in a row, I went there, attended, gave speeches. One time, I think all 2 times it was written by the president. And again, networking events. It's just every networking event. And so lots of this conference. Again, I didn't earn a single cent from this, but
Right.
they paid for my travel and TADA, of
Right.
course.
Right. I mean, that makes
But
sense.
no
That's
net
them
profit.
investing in what they're
Yeah,
trying to do as an
there's
organization, not that's a
yes,
different kind of investment, yeah.
yeah. So there's no net profit in me. So just again, all bills were submitted to
Right.
down to the very last cent, like everything.
Yeah.
And
Meticulous.
then, oh, very, very. And I attended these three conferences, and I did something else also. Oh yeah, and then towards the end, while I was quitting, I mean forced to quit the position,
Mhm.
I also held a critical thinking project, which
Oh.
was which was oh my god, I had no idea what I had signed up for. I was hell and
Uh-oh.
beyond
Uh-oh.
because so over here in India, it is like possibly one of the most famous secular human rights actual grassroots activists.
Mm.
Now he's a board member with the AI or something,
Oh.
and yeah, I was the one who introduced them all. But who's
This
remembering?
is I think I know
Uh,
you're talking about a pretty he's is he happened to be
um,
I think I know who you're talking about. Sorry, go on.
yes, yes. And this gentleman has been actually spent his entire life, I think, working in actual grassroots level.
Oh,
Like
okay.
he's a genius. Like he goes to villages and he performs. You know how James Randi, like you would have heard of James Randi,
Yes,
right?
yes, 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 yes. Yep.
He's no longer. I think he passed away.
Yep.
But he would have these presentations, right, about like how easy it is to convince somebody, how homeopathic medicines are a scam, how this current cult is a scam. Like basically all of these pseudo spiritual new age modernism nonsense. Like I'll use a crystal to heal your childhood trauma. I'll look at your palm and tell you about your why your parents broke up, and of course it's your fault, and shit like that, like this
Right, right.
new age modernism.
Yes.
And you combine, but in India, new age modernism comes with a little sprinkle of masala of religion on it,
Right.
like
Right.
or your hand. Not only do the lines of your hand say that you will be blessed with much bad luck this year, but they also say because this god is in the vision of
Alignment.
the,
Yeah.
yeah. So if spoiled, privileged people like you and me go and talk to these villagers about this shit, they will not take us seriously. But this man has been doing his art for decades, and he's been performing in practically every college and university throughout India, and runs these lectures and gives grassroots very well. You really have to attend the event, and it's so engaging. Like it has this whole shebang and shows magic tricks, which are like, oh my god, I'll bless this stick and I turn the really captivates the audience events. And I really wanted to him to work with AI, so I introduced them both together, and we worked a little project where we worked in the villages, and we attended a 7-day event into very desolated. But turns out this man, despite being double my age, he's I think 60 or something. He has like skin made of leather or something. He's way hardcore because this
Yeah.
was 48, 49 degrees Celsius temperature, and my brain was not comprehending. Like my body was shooting all sorts of signals like this is not human. And with no air conditioning, minded, we were out there in the field at this temperature. So I was just having a meltdown after meltdown, but we struck through. And so we worked in a project like that too.
Physically
Again, for
melting.
zero pay. Neither him nor me. We were just funded
Right.
our travel tickets and modest accommodation. That was it. We paid him a 0 cent for his and 0 cent for us.
Uh,
And so
Chad is asking. Oh, Gesundheit. Chad is asking about somebody named Baba Ramdev. Ramdev.
oh yeah, he's a con. I mean, oh shit, can I say that word? I
Yeah,
mean, he's
you
an
can. Yeah,
asshole.
you're in the clear. You say whatever you want. Don't be racist, I
Oh
guess.
man, no, 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 no. He's a billionaire with a B, like a US dollar billionaire, not an Indian rupee billionaire. And this dude has been like doing
B for bling.
dumbass yoga. Yeah, like
Oh.
he's been doing yoga for like middle-aged Indians for a while. And basically
Oh
like, oh my god,
no.
yoga will cure anything from your erectile dysfunction to your wife no longer loving you, to your receding hairline, to cancer, to diabetes, to rabies or whatever.
I mean,
And
obviously
basically
those are
we
the
all grew up
same
with a
thing. The reason your wife doesn't love you
of
anymore is
course.
because of the rabies.
Of course, probably. I'm sure they are both related at some point. And and basically, like then he started like this whole, oh my god, chemicals are so bad, organic shit is so awesome. So now he pretty much makes every consumable product, from shampoo to rice, from sugar to Coca-Cola, from cereal to protein powder, from
Oh
chocolates
god.
and he makes everything, and it's like, buy Indian, don't let these white people take your money. I am a billion with $1 billion, so give me money. That is cool.
This
But
guy's
you don't buy the
making
cheaper thing. You
organic
buy
lube.
patriotic. Yeah, he doesn't know. He's like, just pray. You'll get children via praying. And why would you have sex for any other reason without having children? Like that makes no sense. So yeah,
Believe it
he's
or
a
not,
little
my
cuckoo.
my co-host is India. My co-host for another show I do called Dumbfeck Friday is from India, so she's out here
Yes,
like,
I
yo,
saw her.
ask him about this.
Yeah, he's a crazy dude. He's like started with good intentions. Now he's like just milking that patriotism cow till her teats run dry.
Oh
It's like,
no.
and he's very into politics and he's very into fascist government supporting right wing. It's just weirdo. I don't like
So
it.
to bring it back around to AAI stuff,
Mhm.
we kind of talked about what you've done for them and how you saved them money and how you worked on all these projects for them for free. Um,
Yes.
how did?
Again, my whole intention was goodwill,
Oh,
just
absolutely.
goodwill, because I
Yeah.
knew, like, I didn't mind doing. a billion other projects like these.
Right.
And I remember at this point when I'm doing these projects, I'm done with college. So every day I go and attend these conferences, I'm taking a leave from my daytime job. I'm
Right.
sacrificing my actual salary to attend these.
Right.
And it's not like I'm going to the Maldives or I'm going to the most exotic, comfortable area and I attend the conference in the day and I'm chilling at the beach in the evening. No, these
Right.
are really rundown portions of the country, and these are really hardcore, bare bones kind of organization in bare bone villages. It's
Right.
comfort and this is no longer in the same sentence. So I was
Yeah.
doing all of
Yeah.
this goodwill, in the goodwill that tomorrow AI will grow and I will be an asset to them, and these look will be really important. And
And
also events like these, like the conferences and the village event, are very important for iShow. You put it on the website, and if you're encouraging donations, you don't have to use
right.
the same tool program of a school in Africa where it's like, hey, we built this school. Now we're showing we are having conferences, we are having village events, plural. We are going there and meeting these hundreds and hundreds of kids, and look, we are actually accountable.
Yeah,
Like
you've
we
actually
right
got
there,
something to
you donate
show
us.
for the money. You can be like, hey,
Yeah,
listen, you contributed to this. Your money is going
yes,
directly
yeah,
to these things.
exactly.
This is
And
marketing
I
and
thought
PR 101.
exactly. And we weren't wasting it on rich people in a joke circle talking in a air conditioned room talking
Right.
God bad, atheism good.
Right,
You know,
right.
none of that. So this was
Um,
actual tangible.
so how did they handle ending your contract, and how did you feel about that at the time?
Yeah. So I think nowadays, like on Twitter and especially, a lot of people are nitpicking each email and trying to find faults in what AI did and what everybody did.
Right.
Working there, I can safely say not everything operated by the book in a, I don't mean that in a bad way, but I mean things were so variable. 99.99% I think the staff is unpaid volunteers. They're none of them for none of them this is their full-time job.
Right.
So they, it was standard practice for everybody to reply at their leisure pace. Like, I send
Right.
an email, I'll send you a reply 10 days later, 20 days later. Sometimes I won't send a reply. It was very normal. It was
Right.
just very
The
standard
urgency
practice.
was not
There
cons-
was no, because realistically, we were not printing a breaking news world story. We were printing a periodical that's gonna, at best, be in your living room table where you have tea and snacks, and it's gonna be a showpiece. And at its bare minimum, it will be something you hold in your hand when you go to events and conferences. That hey, this is my organization, not just my card.
right.
That
Yeah.
this is the tangible work we produce. Read it. So there was something you hold in your hand. It was very important, and because that plays a huge impact compared to hey, check out my website. When you
Yeah.
give somebody a physical piece of paper and a magazine, they're like, oh, they must be out there. And
It grants some
so
credibility.
during this
It
time,
grants some
of
like
course,
a level of
absolutely,
professionalism, and like you're serious about what you're doing. An
exactly,
image. Yeah.
exactly. And this time, the president I worked with, who I really loved, and I really respect her or him to this day.
Hmm.
They had resigned, and three other presidents had shifted, and they were constantly shifting. And the board was this board is firing this, vice president is shifting this, treasurer is shifting this. So again, none of my business. I was not concerned at all.
You were
However, to
outside of that.
produce a
Yeah.
magazine, I need to talk to the president that this is the vision I have for this magazine. This is where I'm struggling with. This is the I am thinking. Let's say I am thinking to produce a 30-page magazine this time instead of a 35, or I am thinking of producing a 50-page one instead of a 30. Does that work with you? The president has to send a field organizations. They have to coordinate with the marketing person, have to include ads and shit, and all of this information needs to receive to me on time for me to produce further. When you're layout, you work in design, you would know when you're designing any form of paper, periodical magazine, anything. First priority is given to the ads, the spacing, and then the art text is filled in the rest of the places. Without all of this
Right.
information on hand, I cannot produce a magazine on time. So it was very, very, very standard practice, not on my fault. It was just everybody was sending information that delay, and there was no sense of urgency to rush. Like if the deadline's in October, we We'd easily publish by November. It was no big deal. As long as the members got their information, everybody felt happy. So during this time, a lot of things were happening with the presidential board. A lot of people were resigning. A lot of things were happening. And then on a personal front, I had lost my grandfather at that time, and I was very close to him. And I lived in a different city, around 300 kilometers from my hometown. I had to overnight go there. And it's still India, even though I'm an atheist, but my family is not. There are a bunch of rituals. There are like a dozen family members, and it's a whole weekend, 10-day event,
Yep,
and it's
yep.
really a big deal, and it's emotionally also exhausting. So fuck me if I took 2 weeks or something to reply, which
Yeah.
again standard practice. Everybody in the board, when the presidents and shit were resigning, it took like months for them to figure that shit out.
Right.
Like there were people running away with $15,000-$20,000 and whatnot, and I take 2 weeks to reply to a periodical. It's not
Right.
like it's not like I was paid the money in advance. Like, oh my god, and I ran away with the money. That where's he gone with this grand sum of $1,500? No, it was like I got paid after everything's published, printed, and received. I would wait until they receive the Korean and then I would issue the statement. Anyway, so I took like 2 weeks or something to reply. And this new board, I won't name this particular gentleman, but let's just say he's never had he's shown a different side to himself since.
Mm.
They basically mentioned that every president, and I have seen 4 or 5 of them or something during their duration. Every time they joined, they used the same words that Apple does in their presentation. We're going to revolutionize this, we're going to change this, and it's going to be the same thing. Because you understand, A, you're limited by resources, B, you're limited by manpower, C, you're working in a very, 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 very niche sector in the world. It's not like you're covering food reviews that the world will never run out of new recipes to try a fried chicken, right? You will always have food reviewers. It's a very,
Right.
very extreme niche sector. You cannot produce a magazine. You can't compare it. I'm not producing the Wall Street Journal here. It's like we are
Right.
limited in topics we cover, limited in individuals who want to speak. You will be limited. You can't compare it to publish text like that.
You're still
So this
small.
new guy was
Yeah.
just like, oh my god, we are going to revolutionize this, and this is unacceptable. And so he basically said, we discussed it with the board that we would rather have the website completely crumble and have no form of physical tangible work whatsoever than pay you your due share and you are immediately fired. I had no form of discussion. I have the exact email I remember writing to them that can I negotiate? Can I have a video conference with everybody? Can I sit and explain my finances? I literally even mentioned that if we are cash crunched right now, I can literally work for free for the next few months. And whenever we manage to pull ourselves out of the sock, maybe 6 months from now, 1 year from now, you pay me back my dues with no interest. I literally proposed that because that's how attached. I know the effort I put into this place. The
Right.
amount of work I have done, I know that. I know that, they know that, I have all the paper trail. So losing that being cut off by this one gentleman, again, I want to stress, not some board. There was no voting. It was not our decision as the AAI board. This one particular gentleman's decision to struck this completely off of me. And then they wrote beautiful reviews. Everybody was just like, we are so appreciative of his work. Which now, 6 years down the line on Twitter, and I have had zero communication with this guy or anybody from the board because it's not my business. I've moved on in life. This guy is writing on Twitter in his some dude is writing on Twitter that his work was so shitty. We fired him for this, we fired him for that, we fired him for this reason, we fired him. Like, oh my god! And I'm like, I'm not even talking to you. This is not a concern. These allegations by some particular gentleman on Twitter who's like, A, that his work was so shitty and it was so bad. B, all the presidents that I worked with, all of them, with no exception whatsoever, have had beautiful reviews written about me. I would say 80% of them still love me, and if you ask them, they would verify how much of an honor and the amount of work I've done. B, he himself had said that he was so praising of my work. And
Yes, he
C,
did.
when I was shifting responsibilities towards to him,
Mhm.
he himself took like 12, 13 days to reply, and which was funny. Like I had no obligation to keep reminding him. I and but he's taking his, but that is acceptable because he can make a funny joke like, "Ooh, my daughter broke
Rules
my
for
computer." It is so
thee.
funny.
Rules for
No,
thee, but
no,
not
it's like
for
so
me.
funny. My daughter broke my computer, but my daughter broke my computer. Oh, it's the holiday season. I'll take 10 days to reply. But when I lose my goddamn grandfather, like he's no longer alive, and I have to travel halfway across the country to attend his funeral rites, that's when I can't get a 2 week break. Because I'm working on some sort of heart surgery over here. It's not like I'm working on a periodical
That's
that even if I
that
delay it by
is
2 weeks, hell won't break loose.
that is not
They just created this,
that is not just
and I also
absurd. That is cruel.
yeah,
Like that is cruel.
that is straight up cruel. Yeah, that's what I felt too. That's what I felt too. And now, in all of the allegations, I'm not on Twitter for anybody to know, but I've had friends there and lots of people. I've seen screenshots and I've heard conversations. Um,
Mhm.
this particular gentleman is also accused that, he worked only a month or two paid and then he worked for free. Now, my business. I don't care if AI pays him $100,000 in addition.
Yeah.
That is not my business. That is their business. All I know is when he's casting stones on me, which are straight up lies, I will have absolutely no tolerance about that shit. Why? Because let the record show, it's all in my emails, that I distinctively said that I will work indefinitely for free if finance is the issue. If we are cutting, because remember earlier, I had sat down with the finance team and I had managed to cut costs tangibly.
Right.
So I said I'll work indefinitely for free, and if we can manage to pull up resources, whenever in the indefinite future, I'll get my due share then.
Right.
I also propose if that is what you feel bad, like I don't want to make you work for free, then I can work at a substantially lower pay also because that's how much I love the AI.
Right. And when
That
you had put so much
so
like
yeah, that really really
blood,
hurt reading about all of that shit. Like five
you
six years, 5 6 years,
yeah, you had been working for them
yeah,
for 4 years
five
with
six years
blood,
later,
sweat, tears into not just the
this
magazine,
actual,
into the
yes,
UN, into like your own time and energy and
yes,
making contacts and writing
yes,
scripts and writing
yes.
speeches and like going to these places yourself and making those connections that with you gone the organization loses contact with in their entirety.
What a coincidence! No, the moment I left, just 2 months after that, 2 or 3 months or something, or like two editions or a little time after, the magazine stopped printing. Right? As it turns out, it's not that easy of a task, no.
We
And
may or may not
and
have
also one more
reviewed the
allegation I
comparative
wanted to.
work. Yes, go ahead.
I mean, one more allegation I saw of this guy is
Yep.
on Twitter. Particularly, I don't know why has some sort of spite against me. I've had no communication with him over the years,
Mm-hmm.
and I have no interest. But he went above and beyond to mention that, quote unquote, that $1,500 is a big amount in this part of the world. I
Yes.
would suggest him, like, I actually, and this I'm talking to everybody. I run an Airbnb specifically for foreign tourists. So I'm really apt in dealing with tourists. I suggest you come here. It's on the house. You come and spend. You get 1,500 bucks. If you manage to even buy ramen noodles and live, I will pay you double that amount of money. You come and spend, you just, not even talking exploring, you remain indoors, just have a functional heating and light and water and plumbable water, and only eat ramen noodles 3 times a month, and you will live on that kind of money. I challenge you. That is comically, absurdly low amount of money. And again, because money wasn't that issue, this wasn't my full time job. This was a side hustle for me. This was my secondary income. I was still working full time. Anybody who says that, if you Google, know what is the average salary, of course you'll find statistics. But if I also Google also tells me 10% of American population is addicted to drugs, or there's one mass shooting every day. This Google information is very different from practical nuances to somebody who's actually living there.
Yeah.
And his racist overtones of implying, this is why they hire call centers here in India. No, no, I was at no point hired because of cost cutting reasons. At no point. I had a fair and open, transparent advertisement. I applied the position, I got the job. Now, whether I could be living in Canada, I could be living in any part of the world. Wasn't a business of a concern to you. What I do with that money, even if it's a huge part of, even if it's a huge amount of money, is none of your concern. I could just do whatever I want with it. And this was part of a contract is like I agreed to do certain work for certain amount of time.
Yep. No,
Another allegation he
absolutely.
said that he did not deliver. He did
Yes.
not deliver. This concept that he did not deliver, the third and fourth edition was a combined edition, again for no fault of mine, because the presidents were, one of the ex-president was accused of some very goddamn serious charges, and then 15,000 or something money was missing. There were bigger fish to fry. There was a lot of mess, there was a lot of discussion. So it's in written, it's in accord. Certain members senior to me, who I was accountable to, told me to hold off making another edition. And I didn't get paid for 4 editions. I produced 3, so I got paid for 3. So I didn't run away with some money. I didn't shirk off any responsibilities. Now,
So,
if
okay,
I am
so
an
to be
employer and my employee tells me, if
so to
sorry, I
be
went on a rant, but you go on.
sorry, to be clear, I just want to make sure that I understand correctly what you're telling me. Not only were
Mm-hmm.
you told by basically upper management to hold off on what you were
Yes,
working on, but you also only got
yes,
paid for
yes.
3 when
Because it
you
wasn't possible.
actually
Yes.
provided 4 because the third one was combined into
No, no, no,
2.
no. Uh, I
Did
mean, I
the
did produce
fourth
three.
the
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 third edition was a combined edition,
right, so did it
but
have like the amount
I would call
of
it one
like
only.
okay, okay, okay.
Little
So
bit. Like, it was like 25% more. But
okay.
I did work for 3, I got paid for 3.
Okay.
But this other gentleman on Twitter implied that I breached my
Yeah,
contract.
he said
And
he
like
accused
I
you of
ran with
breaching
some
the
sort of money.
contract and failing to deliver
No,
on
I
your part
didn't.
of the job. Right.
Again, I want to stress, imagine if I'm working in any other job and my employer tells me, hey buddy, go back home at 2 p.m. And I go back home. And the next day, even upper management, even above him, says that
Right.
why didn't you deliver yesterday? It's not my fault. The
Right.
person I'm accountable for told me to go home. If after that the store burns down, it's not my business, is it?
Right.
So it's not my business. I still got paid for the hours that I worked. That's what
Right.
happened around here.
Right.
So
So
I didn't
management
breach
told you
the
not,
contract. I
yeah,
didn't
not at
steal no
all.
money.
Yeah, you were
It was
willing
not possible.
to
There was so
right.
much shit happening during those days.
Yeah.
It
Right.
was just not. They didn't like. We had much bigger fish to fry, so we had much. There was a lot happening, and we
Yeah.
didn't like miss out on anything. It was not
Mhm.
that big of a deal if we produced a combo edition. We have
Right.
to be reasonable in our expectations. Our audience is limited.
Yeah.
They understand, they empathize, they understand things happen.
Yeah.
Earlier in periods, we've had like editions which were way before I was hired. There were editions like 12, 13 pages big. There was no context. It was filled with poems,
Yeah,
literal
you're not
poems
shown
of
in
people
Jump.
going God so bad who
Yeah.
had, yeah, yeah, we were not like, we didn't like, it was not some fatal sin committed that somebody died. It
Yeah.
was not that big of a deal. And this
There's
gentleman, for some reason, without having a direct conversation with me, I mean, he has my email.
mhm.
He was even Facebook friends with me for like half a decade. He's never had any misunderstanding, any error with me. I did not know that he thinks like so low of me, and he's talking about me on a platform even I'm not there, behind my back, and I'm hearing from a bunch of strangers on halfway across the world where
right.
somebody's questioning your work done half a decade ago. And I don't
Right.
know, man, Richards, if
7
you're
years
listening to this,
later.
that was such a dick move. It was such a dick move. You have my email. If you had any form of grudge against me, or if you were still keeping a grudge for so many years with somebody half your age, you had my email. You could have just talked to me, and I don't know. I don't understand where this anger is coming from with no reason. I
Yeah.
have no business of his.
And now
So
I'm gonna
yeah.
toss. I'm gonna toss one out there, and this is mostly for the chat about maybe the reason is because the guy's in the hot seat after that disclosure agreement came out and basically threw him the fuck under the bus, and he's going, no, 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 look over there at that guy who hasn't been really seen or heard from, so
Mm.
clearly he's not gonna come onto a show and defend himself. Whoops,
So I'm just,
miscalculated.
I told him also, I mean, we're all adults. He can just talk to me directly. It's just very baffling. Like, what is this high school gossip groups happening? Like, you're talking behind my back on Twitter.
Well, I mean, it
Like this.
definitely looks good for such an organization with such lofty goals. So you brought up two things that I want to just kind of loop back to a little bit.
Mhm.
You mentioned that you were willing to do
Yeah.
if financials were the problem, you were willing to indefinitely work for free until that could be resolved.
Until we figure it out.
Yeah, did
By
you?
free, again, I want to stress because, like, till the point, like, if 5 years down the line or 6 months down the line, we manage to gain funds, they will pay me back. Of
Yes,
course.
yeah. With
Like, you know.
optional back pay is
That
situational.
was one option, and the other,
Yeah,
yeah, yes, and the other option was like I'm fully willing to negotiate drastic,
right,
like 50-60% cuts in my pay
right,
because we have cut down. Because I felt like this is my baby. Secular World is my production. I felt like the amount of work I've put into this and where it started and reached, I felt like I have a contributing parental share in it. It wasn't just a job and employer anymore. I
right.
felt really close to heart. So I was willing to make it work no matter what.
That's absolutely fair and reasonable for you to have that kind of an attachment to a project that you had spent so much, that you would put so much investment in, particularly since what you were investing for the most part was your time and energy, not, it wasn't a monetary thing.
Yeah.
Did they present to you or say to you that there were financial issues, or was that something that you had kind of figured and was just throwing out there?
Both. So they did mention, again, one particular gentleman
Mm-hmm.
was constantly bringing up that, hey, we are not getting so much this, we're not getting our return, so much this. And the presidents were constantly changing. An earlier president had said that we would stop physical production. We would keep the magazine online, only online. Just a PDF would be available. Then it was decided it will be for free. Then it was decided no, we'll only give it to members. And then so again, none of my business. Whether
Right,
you take the magazine and just immediately put it in the paper shredder, it was not my job to sort that bit out. Not my job. Whatever, if the president says we're
right,
gonna send it to the moon, I'll be like, man, that's your call. I don't
right,
care.
right.
Uh,
You
so when they eventually declared that this is a official thing, and then they talked to me that we are not getting enough membership, then I was like, yes, because I have been screaming and shouting throughout that if we want to gain membership, we have to get rid of the old ways and welcome to the new digital age. Stop living in the 1970s style of VR ideas. These days, if there are atheisms rising like a motherfucker out there, and we need to get on TikToks, we need to get on Instagram, we need to get whether you like it or not. I hate all of those reels and stories and shit. If you want to promote your product, you have to. There is no choice. You just have to.
right.
You have to get it. You have to share memes. We can't just keep typing Atheist Alliance International strongly condones killing people. And then comments would be like, oh no, really? I thought you supported the massacre and the genocide. Like, no shit, Sherlock, of course we do. That's not gonna get you likes and shares. You make a funny meme, you are active on other news channels.
Marketing
It's like a
and
social,
PR.
yeah.
You need to do
You
social.
have to target a younger population. You can't just be a jerk circle of people above the age of 50 just telling each other God good, God bad, atheism good. That is just going to
Yeah.
limit your circle. If you want to expand and grow, you need to hire somebody young and who knows the current trends. You just have to do that shit.
So
And so when
I
they
want to toss you an
found out,
idea, and I want to see if you agree with me or not. That a group like Atheist Alliance International ought to be focusing on secular ideals and less about arguing about whether or not God exists. Because if they focus on secular ideals that do not require
Yes,
a God when presenting whatever's going
yes,
on in politics, it is actually creating that secular position.
absolutely. Like I'm in touch with, I won't name the organization, but other organizations
Yep.
working in the secular space, and they have reached such levels within the limited time that I have been into this sector. From 2014 till now, 2023 almost, the heights they have reached in membership, funding, progress, and actual achievements is unbelievable. They are a force to be reckoned with.
Are they hiring?
Now, if they issue a statement that, oh no, man,
I'm
I
just
keep applying
I'm
to,
teasing. Go ahead.
and and that could have been AAI had they just gotten off their high horse
Right.
and considered things into and just run things a little smoothly, you know. And that's what hurt me the most because I felt like I was
Yeah.
so involved in this. I
Yeah.
felt like it's a part of me that was lost. It wasn't just I lost a job. Like I've lost jobs before, and I will probably load more. This felt like a part of me had died, like a little.
Yeah.
So I
I
was really,
know
really,
I can commiserate with that one. I felt that way just this
uh,
past February with some shit that went on. You mentioned this missing $15,000. Can you give me a little bit more detail on what that
mhm.
was and what that was about?
I don't know too many
You just
details. I
know it
honestly
was.
don't. I'm not
Oh, okay.
shying away from that.
Yeah.
I heard there's something like that what had happened, but then all I remember is it got resolved. That it was quote unquote a
Oh, okay.
misunderstanding. I could be
Oh,
entirely wrong. Again, this was not my concern, so I kept myself to my
yeah,
business.
because you were
But I
off in
think it
this
was resolved.
area doing your own thing, but it would coincide
Yes,
around the same time that things were going south.
yes.
There's an interesting and color me finding it interesting that there's 10K that went missing, and oh, it was just a misunderstanding, and then 15K went missing. It's oh no, it's just a misunderstanding, a miscalculation. Kind of bizarre, but okay. And I don't mean you, I mean them. So there was one other
But paying
accusation,
me 1,500 is a big deal, though, huh?
right? That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money.
For 3 months, for
That's
4
20.
months of pay.
That's $25,000 total. That's poverty wage for a year in Canada.
I don't even know, man.
I would probably shit a brick if I lost $25,000. Okay.
Oh, I would
Yeah.
jump off the roof. It would spend a generation for me to pay that debt. Like, I
Yeah.
cannot pay that in my lifetime. That's just not happening.
That's
That is how bad the financial situation is over here. But
yikes. Yikes.
the lesser I think about it, the better. That's
Mm-hmm.
why we've got beer, right?
So I have one more for you because there was one more accusation that we
Mhm.
didn't touch on, and it was about the quality of work. Because at this point, this man, 7 years later, out of left field, is essentially
Mhm.
slandering your character, your work ethic, and then
Mhm.
the actual job that you did. So this man has stated that
Mhm.
his quality of work was better than your quality of work. Now, you've described sort of the additional work that you put in to provide a high quality, full color, nice paper, laid out
Mhm.
magazine. And I'm going to go out on a limb and assume you've at least saw his first one or two. Like you've seen a little bit of his work.
Yeah, of course.
Do you
Yes.
have any
Yes.
comment about his disparagement of you in that regard?
I would, I mean, I have a general, I think, pretty low of opticians in the UK if he thinks that. Like, if his eye doctor is allowing him to say statements like that, I would suggest you visit a different eye doctor, get a new pair of spectacles, change your vision, because he's clearly having some problems with his eyesight at this point. I mean, the work is all out there, his work and my work. If I think only Helen Keller herself would also agree that there is a dimensional difference.
Now, we will
His editorial work is
We looked
An
at.
editorial, to my
Oh, sorry.
understanding, in journalism school, and I remember I
Mm.
had a sorry. Let me just give me a minute.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, sorry. Go ahead.
I had a major in print journalism, and I distinctively learned how to write editorials and your opinions. The whole point of an editorial is to not be a mouthpiece just for the organization. That is the president's letters talk. It's to talk about current events in the industry you're writing. Like a editorial for the Reader's Digest will talk about the current scenario of the world. An editorial for a political magazine will talk about that. He, in none of his magazines, will talk about anything in the world. He's just talking, AI is so awesome. We did this, we did that. He had no form of contribution. His paper his alignment just annoys me so much that center alignment is
Yeah, it's
designed for
bad.
just such a childish play. Just why would you do that? It's just doesn't look professional at all. This is like how honestly, this is how I started to learn how to design. This was in my initial days.
Yeah.
Like when I was in like school and shit. Like this is how I would learn how to design. That was how bad it was. And the authors I have featured, these were ground activists, people who are risking their lives. The cover images that I have induced, we recruited an anonymous artist. I challenge anybody to even find him. That's how much above and beyond I went to protect his identity. These were days of Charlie Hebdo. I don't know people remember. Like any magazine that was publishing, even
Yeah.
reprinting the words that I support. Yes, we is Charlie's Hebdo. Remember, like I
Yep.
am
Yep.
Charlie Hebdo.
Yep.
Any magazine they were supporting, you had an actual goddamn threat to your life. That's all. And I live in India.
Right.
People who are listening to this conference have to understand is 10 years in jail in blasphemy for me. Neither AI is going to come and save me, neither the president nor this gentleman. I know the risk. For $1,500 for 3 months, I'm putting 10 goddamn years of my life in an Indian prison.
Right.
And Indian prisons aren't as pretty as American or UK prisons.
Yeah.
This is the darkest, deepest secret of hell and beyond. You are risking putting yourself. Newspaper offices were attacked here in India also. And I am publishing the photos of Muhammad on the front page with my giant photo and my unique name. I have such a
Yep.
weird name that if you search on social media, my profile comes up very easily. So I can't even hide. It's not a
Yeah,
generic
I
name.
know. I went and
I am
found you.
taking all of that risk. I am taking all of that risk. I'm putting myself out there for bare minimum of the minimum pay.
Yep.
I'm recruiting one provocative cartoon cover picture after another, hardly ever using stock images. I recruited one of India's, I think the last edition I worked, I wanted to go out with a band. You could still check it out, or I could send you a copy. I recruited one of India's most prolific visual artists. This dude does not, I mean, he's God level famous, okay? Let's to put it humbly. I managed to recruit him to make a custom sketch for us for free. I challenge anybody to have that form of communication skills to do that. We are talking a god level artist. Like this dude mints money. Like he earns in US dollars and shit. He does not. Like this the amount the authors we got. There was a FEM something organization. There's this bunch of activists in Europe. They're bare chested women and they attend public meetings just for the provocative of it, like, ooh, breasts,
Yep.
and they're like,
Ooh.
free the body, free the nipple and things like that.
Yep. Yep.
It's a very hardcore organizations when we worked with the case study of shifting people from Gaza, actual goddamn Gaza, and they were atheists over there to more secure part of the world. We got atheists from Pakistan. We got atheists from these South India conferences. The articles that I have contributed
Yep.
are about tangible. I challenge you to read one paragraph of anything I've read.
Mm.
It's just art of journalism is about storytelling. You read one paragraph, you're like, that's a cool story. I really want to know the end now, and you
Yep.
will stick on to it. You will start any of my articles, you will read to the end. And his work is just you compare. It's not in the same category.
Excluding the
And I don't
racist
want to
overtones.
I don't want to diss Richards at all. I have no business. Again, I want to stress, and I don't want to diss AI also at all.
Right.
But man, why would you do that? I have no business with you. I have no concern. I have never dissed any of your work. Our last communications when this charade was happening on Twitter, literally I had to scroll my Instagram and shit. No, sorry, inbox and shit. And I was like, the last email was so formal, so polite. He was wishing me good luck in my life, and I said, man, I'm right here if you reach out if you ever do. And just he has such bitterness and animosity in me. I don't know where this is coming from. So work
Yeah,
comparison,
it's
don't take my word for it. Obvious, anybody listening, don't take my word for it. Obviously, I'll praise my own work. Maybe all of the directors and presidents are also lying that they love my work. You watch it yourself. Let the audience be the decider. You read it yourself. Anybody needs copies. It's all public information. Won't be stealing anything. It's right there.
oh, the best part is that the his and yours are side by side. So you click on one, get a fantastic article, then click on the next one, and it's like I think when we looked at it on another show that I did, I described it as like
Mhm.
a shitty church pamphlet.
Exactly my point. Exactly my point. And he does not know the backstories that went into a man. The amount of where the places have gone for AI, just the amounts of times
Just
is
literal
insane.
footwork, literal footwork, and
Yes,
putting your
yes,
own, not just your reputation but your life on the line, and getting
yeah.
other people to invest
Actual
in
life.
that. And well, yeah, your actual life, like jail
Huh.
time, potential
I
like
mean,
death threats,
let's
like
let's let's be let's be very real here. Like, it's not India isn't like the most human rights protective country, to put it politely. We have a hardcore right-wing fascist prime minister here saying
mm,
even the words Hinduism bad is like enough for somebody to fuck your life over.
right, right.
And here I am blasting my face off. Like, here, come, anybody come at me. And I know for a fact that any day if my doorbell rings with a mob and pitchfork out there, and I reach out to AI that, hey, will you help me in my asylum? They would be like, Rustam, who?
Well, and
I'm
on top of
out
that,
there
it's
on
it's
the own.
ongoing,
I
right,
I know that.
right.
It's still there, man. It's still there.
Yeah. Oh,
Any
your
day. It's
name
just
is
lucky that the audience over here is strong.
right.
Out there, of course, it's
Yeah.
out there and it's forever.
So
No.
even if
And
right,
also for
sorry, go ahead.
foreign people listening, India doesn't have a stature of limitations. It's not like after 10 years I would be chill. There's no such concept here.
Right,
It's like I am fucked here for life and I know that.
right.
And this was what I felt like. This was my chance to be a true journalist and not bow down. It was a really emotional moment for me, like this, when the Charlie Hebdo thing happened. And I was like, I'm going to double down, in fact. It was
Oh,
my editorial decision.
yeah.
Other Richards and stuff didn't have to take any decisions like this. Their only priority was have to produce a magazine that's like within 3 months, and then
Well,
this.
and there's no risk involved and no work involved
There's
and
nothing. There's no,
nothing. No
no.
sweat, no
It's
blood,
just
no
the
tears.
same bunch of same jerk circle writing about how great our organization is. Hey, this is our affiliate.
B.
We've been doing great work. And then
Yeah.
the other affiliates like, hey, we are from atheism this country, atheism that country. We do this work. We do that. Compare yourself to other secular organizations. The work they do is gonna blow your mind, and I have seen that in person. I attended the UN meetings. They
Mm.
are a force to be reckoned with. The other country representatives go above and beyond to silence them. They have passed motions that we can't let them speak. That's how much they fear the secular organization. And when we go in there with
Wow.
not even a magazine and saying, hey, buddy, sorry, we stopped printing our magazine because some dude at one meeting told us that it's not cost worthy. So we stopped printing our magazine. But here's my card. Let's log into the website. You think they're going to take us seriously? Like, God is, this is,
Yeah,
yeah,
nobody's typing your
really pissed me
website in
off.
by hand. I have one last question for you, and
No, no.
it
Yes.
pertains to what you just said. What would you like to see from where AAI is at? What would you like to see them do, or what steps could they take, and where would you like to see them go from where they are right now?
That is, I think personally, as me, and not as somebody who's worked with them, I am
Yeah.
a hardcore socialist. I believe, and as part of my socialist philosophy, I believe everything belongs to everybody, and it has to be shared. Organizations with these need to stop wasting so much time in these a general meeting, this, voting that, this, that. If instead they have a complete total transparency system that, hey, um, this is our vision, this is our this, these are the funding, everything's just transparent. Let's get things moving. Uh, you respect people who've had senior time in the organization. You restart the UN project, you restart the magazine, of course. And I still, in my heart of hearts, believe there's a huge potential there, especially with UN project. It's very difficult to get UN accreditation, and it is something that
Yep.
you must earn. However, ideology alone does not pay the bills.
Yep.
You have to, whether you like it or not. I tell all of my friends, bro, I hate dancing like a clown on TikTok reels, but I also enjoy not being poor. I really enjoy not being poor. Whether you like it or not, you have to do the song and dance. You have to post the stories. You have to share the memes. For
Yep.
this vision, it's extremely difficult to explain the skill set to a boomer that why you need social media, because they still believe that I reach out to advertising. Hello, big advertising. Would you like to give me $10,000? They would be like, yes. It does Life does not exist like that anymore. That
No.
era has long gone.
That's
If we
some
get a young
privilege.
person with a vision,
Yep.
if we get a young person on the vision who has a better understanding on how to bring money into this front. Once you get money, now we push the UN program, now we push the magazine, then it can finally be a force to reckon with rather than every day. I don't want to wake up to emails going like this dude, this, that. He stole this funds, he did this argument, this. We are just wasting time fighting among ourselves while
Right.
religious fanaticism is on the rise.
Yeah.
In this whole concept of a president, this, president, that, I think we are giving undue, personally, I feel we are giving undue importance to these territories. Like the vice president doesn't get a salary. I don't know if the president does or not.
Mm-hmm.
The treasurer doesn't get a salary. So
Mm-hmm.
if you're not getting a salary, why are you so cautious about getting that position? Half of the board members are retired adults. You have lived your life. What are
Right.
you chasing these professions about? Why not help the cause by hiring young people who are go-getters? Like I remember when I started working for Secular World magazine. In those last few days, I would pull off three all-nighters consecutive. What is sleep? I will sleep when I'm dead, and when the floor starts shaking too much. Sleep is for people with
Yep.
not access to enough Red Bull, and I had a shop right next to my house, like right
Perfect.
next to my house. I barely walk
Good
like
to
two steps.
go. Good to go.
Yeah,
Yep.
I was like, I'll
Absolutely.
just live off. Once we get into that zone, it's like, so I see
High energy.
the vision. There is a lot of high energy. With no disrespect, I don't want to be an ageist, as they call it, but definitely you need young people on board, maybe younger than me, for sure, maybe younger than both of us.
Oh yeah.
Young people on board with priorities set right that are number one. Nothing can happen without money. No amount of
Yeah.
vision,
Yep.
no project's gonna happen with money.
Yep.
Nobody, it's 2023 almost. Nobody likes to donate for any reason. You
Mm-hmm.
can set up an orphan, blind, crippled puppy organization, and even they would not have enough funds. Nobody is paying anything anymore. You need
Yep.
to manipulate people into paying, and that the way of that is using cool memes, cool advertising, get paid
Marketing.
from YouTube videos, have seminar. Just this sad podcast of two famous atheists talking is silly. You need new visions. You need
Yep.
new hardcore in the face energy.
Yep.
Do that. Start off the new magazine. Start off the UN program. And I feel AI would be back to its feet very soon.
Well, that's at least a
And
hope for
that's the
the
vision.
that's a hope for the future. I think your vision of AI is something pretty spectacular, and what you were trying to do while you were there was a whole lot of work and worth way more
Mhm.
than the way you were treated in general.
Because I thought I'm investing into the time. I didn't know I was a disposable asset that they could dispose at any second. Because I was maybe young and naive. Now I'm a
Mm,
little more bitter and outspoken. Earlier I was just
mm,
very quietly just yes ma'am, yes sir. And now I'm like I don't give a shit. Like
Yeah.
I've seen more life out there, so I will not take shit from people anymore either. So
Imagine old men taking advantage of younger, hardworking people. Such is
I'm
life.
saying it's a lot of money in that corner of the world. Oh
Mm,
my God, man.
mm-hmm,
Oh my
mm-hmm.
God. That
Yeah.
was
Absurd? Ridiculous? Cruel?
not okay.
Racist?
I would go with cruel then.
Cruel. All
Oh,
right. Hmm?
hell yeah. I was like, I hate being the only color. I hate being the only colored person in this situation. And I'm looking left and right, like, guys, I don't want to sound like a Karen, but did you guys hear that? Isn't that racist? Like, that type of racist, right? Anybody else heard that? Like, nobody? Huh?
I'm
Nobody?
I'm pretty
Because I feel like
sure
there's
I
always a doubt, I'm like, am I being too sensitive or
no, no, you're good.
was that
It
actual racism?
was
Like,
actually, yep,
like,
yep,
okay.
absolutely. 100%. You're not overreacting. I'm pretty sure I was listening on my phone in the
Uh,
kitchen and I almost dropped my phone when I heard it. Like, are you
this
kidding
is
me?
crazy.
I'm not even the person that's being offended here.
Yeah.
It's not even against
I'm
me.
not even there. I'm not even in the discussion. I'm not even in the discussion. So yeah.
I want to thank you so much for coming and so much for sharing your experience and what had happened with you. I think you were able to clear up a lot of the timeline and what had happened and what had really gone down because there's so much just back and forth nonsense. So I do really want to thank you for sharing with all of us today. And I'd love to have you come on again and talk about something else that's not garbage.
Absolutely.
Thank you so
I would
much.
love that. I would absolutely. Let's keep in touch. And for the record, anybody, I'm not like other certain gentlemen. If anybody doubts even a single statement I said, I have all the paper trails. I would be more than happy to share. There is no mystery. I would not play around. I would just straight up send away the proof if I can. It's all there. I have no reason to lie. I have no motive to lie. So
Thank you so much.
let's keep in touch and thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. Have a great day, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.